Yo, welcome back, Xycor here, and today in our Relegend Magnus showcase, we're going to take a look at the mineral crab of the Vocal Coast. Yes, this Magnus is the only Magnus you could mistake for an ore node. Yes, this Magnus is Cranite, one of the crabby crabs of the Vocal Coast area, like a rock crab. It's like as hard as a piece of ore, I guess, or something like that. It's got a very hard shell, and yeah, it likes to nip at your heels and make sure that you think that it's an ore node, because yeah, you could almost mistake them for that. So I'm going to tell you what they do, how to get them, where to find them, how to tame them, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, first thing I'm going to do is head out and attempt to tame one. But of course, if you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe as well, because yeah, Cranites really look like ore nodes. Okay, you can find Cranite here in the Trocker Cove area, but they're also in Pincer Patch, so you have a choice of where you want to go. They are in Trocker Cove Area 1 and Area 2 as well. So let's check out them in the Magnuspedia. Head to page 2 and Cranite. So yes, Cranite is a class of a tank, and their behavior is passive. So basically they will be just a shield that will run away from you or something like that. No, they'll attack back when you attack them, but yeah, they're basically tanky. The nippers are strong enough to grind rocks into fine powder for consumption, often mistaken as an ore rock. Yes, they can often be mistaken as an ore rock. They kind of look a little bit similar. You probably wouldn't mistake one, but still, it's a thought. As for their favorite food, they love eggplants, so that would be what you'd want to feed them. But they also like fish, ore, and land crops. Ore, I guess, understandably, because they look like ore. As for their items, or their drops, I should say, they drop raw meat, juicy raw meat, Cranite stubs, Cranite shell, and Cranite claw. And as for their attacks, they have drop bubble, an area attack around self. So yeah, it's just a AoE around itself. And that takes 5 stamina and has a 5-second cooldown. And they also have a farming skill, which is watering. They can water a 1-row by 3-column area. As for their passive party buff, they give physical defense plus 5% and magical defense plus 5%. So yes, they are very defensive. Okay, get off here. There we go. So now I have an eggplant with me, a few eggplants, so we'll hold that and I will chuck it at this. Do you like me yet? No, it takes, he took 2 eggplants. He's very picky. There we go. And just play the taming minigame. There we go. Got that. And yes, this one's level 4. So now I'll just look at the attacks, I guess, here. So head up here and attack this Muta. Now the left click attack is a pincer attack. And it's melee, a melee damage. You can see its melee damage there. There we go. And the right click attack is that water ring, which is interesting. It seems like it hits like once or twice. Yeah, it hits like twice, which is interesting. And that is also a melee attack. Yes. But Cranites are pretty resistant to it, apparently. But yeah, you see, if you look at them compared to an ore node, they're close. Not exactly, but they're close. Okay, so now the next thing I need to do is evolve this to the next evolution. There are 2 paths for evolutions on Cranites, so I will take the first path first. Now to show off Cranite's farm skill. It's a 1 row by 3 column area that it waters. And you just come on here, if you can get in there. There we go. Or no, there. And right click, and it waters. Now it can be a little bit difficult to use. You just gotta kind of do it right. You gotta like hit the diagonal keys at the same time. It can possibly be, you know, slightly faster than your watering can, but watering can might still be faster. Who knows? Just don't right click. I mean, just don't left click because, yeah, it'll attack them and then kind of throw you off in your location. Okay, to evolve Cranite to the next line in the defensive line, just take a look at the requirements here. So run Magnuspedia over to Cranite. And yes, as you can see, Cranite has 2 different forms. You can either take it to Cranickel or Cralitus. I am going to go down Cranickel right now, and we'll check that out. So the level condition is level 15, and it requires greater than 15 endurance and 2 affection and a copper ore. So yeah, that's what that takes to do, and I will do that. Let me get over here. My Cranite actually got 22 endurance on its own. I didn't even have to level that, which is kind of funny. They're very tanky. Okay, so now I have some copper ore. Hold that and just throw it at it, and it will evolve. There we go. And that has evolved into a Cranickel. So yes, Cranickel is a lot bigger and looks, well, more, spiky? Not spiky, knobby. There, knobby, yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at Cranickel in the Magnuspedia now. Get over here to the Magnuspedia, Cranickel. There we go. So Cranickel is as well a class of a tank and behavior of passive. So yeah, they'll avoid you. And the consumption of excessive copper ores in its diet has caused its carapace to harden and form a golden brown tint. Rare minerals and ores are sometimes found forming on its shell. And yeah, they have a typo there. Has caused its... It should be caused. They forgot a D. Oh well. I'm not going to be picky. Anyway, as for their favorite food, they like eggplants. And as for their likes, they like fish, ore, and land crops as well. As for their drops, they drop juicy raw meat, premium raw meat, Cranite stubs, Cranite shell, and Cranite claw. As for their skills, they have burrow stance. Burrows into the ground, changing its attack. Fires a jet of water towards its enemies. And that takes 0 stamina and has a 0-second cooldown. Because this is basically a switch, not an actual attack. It's a switch. So I'll demonstrate that here in a minute. As for their farming skill, they can water a 2 row by 3 column area, which is kind of nice. And they have a passive party buff of physical defense plus 10% and magical defense plus 10%. So yes, again, very defensive. So I will head off here, as long as I can get off. Get on here, and let's demonstrate its attacks. So, the left click attack, there we go, is just melee attack with just its claws. Now, it can't use, there's no Q attack, there's no E attack, and then the right click is to change modes. So it goes into the ground. It's kind of interesting. It kind of, it kind of looks like it's sliding on the ground now, which is kind of cool. And now you hit left, you use the left click attack, that changes it to a beam of water. Which is interesting. It looks like it hits multiple times. Yeah, that hits like 3 times? Or so? I think that was 3. Yeah, 3 times. It's kind of cool. But that's the only thing it has. So it really all depends. Do you want to do melee attacks or do you want to have a ranged attack? But it's pretty nice though, still. And then you just right click again to come out of the burrow stance. And then back into your claw attacks. So yes, the burrow stance is a pretty interesting interesting change or interesting method that it uses to battle. It's pretty cool. So now I need to get on to the next one. So yes, I will be getting it up there to meet the requirements. Now for Cranickel's farming skill, just look at it right here. Now press left click and it waters a 2x2 area. Not 2x2 area, a 2x3 area, 2 row by 3 column area, which is nice. It gets you, a good amount of crops watered. Its watering speed is, quicker. So yeah, it might be more viable than using your watering can, but yeah, it's really up to personal preference. Okay, to evolve Cranickel to its final form, we'll take a look at it here in the Magnuspedia over here. Cranickel. Look at the evolution. Now, its final form is Cragnavis, and the level condition is level 45, and it requires greater than 50 endurance, full affection, and a steel ingot. So head off here. There we go. Now I have mine, let's see, I have mine at 51 endurance because, yeah, it says greater than 50, so yeah, make sure to have greater than 50, just in case, you never know. So I'm holding the steel ingot and I'll just throw it at it because, yeah, Magnus like things thrown at them. Especially steel ingot, which you would think would hurt if it hit them. There we go. Now we have a Cragnavis, which is a very big Magnus. Looks like it has a boat on its head, in a sense. I mean, really, it kind of looks that way. Also, or I mean, you could also consider it like a sombrero or something too. You never know. Could be. Looks like it could be either, but it looks more like a boat, honestly. So let's take a look at its information here in the Magnuspedia. There we go. Cragnavis. So yes, it is also a class of a tank, but its behavior is aggressive. So yeah, you have to be careful because if you see one, they will attack you. Often mistaken as a stranded sea vessel, only to awaken a sleeping monstrosity. It has an extremely hard carapace, known to be as tough as steel. Yeah, that's probably why it takes a steel ingot to evolve it. As for its favorite food, it likes high quality eggplant. So yeah, that's some favorite food that is a challenge to get. Somewhat. Otherwise, it likes fish, ore, and land crops. So you're better off just feeding it one of these. As for its drops, it drops juicy raw meat, premium raw meat, Cranite stubs, Cranite shell, and Cranite claws. As for its skills, it has burrow stance, which burrows into the ground, changing its attack, charges forward using its weight to knock down enemies, and that takes 0 stamina and has a 0-second cooldown, because it's the same type of stance that Cranickel has. Otherwise, it has water cannon, fires a bubble that slows anything that comes in contact, and that takes 20 stamina and has a 15-second cooldown. As for its farming ability, it can water a 3-row by 3-column area, which is a nice area because, yeah, that allows you to get a larger area watered. As for its party buff, it gives physical defense plus 15% and magical defense plus 15%. So yes, you can tell it's very defensive. So check out its attacks here. Just get on it. And it looks like you ride right on the edge of the boat, which you would think would kind of put you in harm's way. Like, for instance, if you're going through a rocky area, it could end up accidentally hitting your head on the top of a rock or something. Okay, head in here. Now, its left click attack is just a claw attack. Actually, it's kind of a water bubble. It kind of shoots a little water bubble that goes for a little bit of a range. So it's slightly ranged, you could say. Yeah, it's got somewhat of a range to it, which is kind of nice. It gives you the option of being a little bit ranged with it. Understandable kind of for a defensive Magnus, though. And that is the left click. Now, the Q attack, you cannot use the Q attack in regular mode here. And it doesn't have an E attack either, unfortunately. So now changing to burrow stance is right click. And that changes the left click melee attack to a bit of a charge. It dashes forward to attack. Which, yeah, is, a little bit less useful than the melee attack in the non-burrow stance, in my opinion. But then you can use the Q attack, which fires a bubble that does, well, I have to see how much damage it does. I think it does a little bit more damage than its melee attack. I've got to wait for it here. There we go. Yes, it does a little bit more damage than its melee attack, and that is melee damage too. So all of its attacks are melee damage. So, yeah. And then you just hit right click again to come out of burrow stance. And then you can get back to these attacks, which they seem kind of faster than some of the others, honestly. So that is Cragnavis. Now I'll head on to the second evolution line. Now to take a look at Cragnavis's farm skills. Skill. Just come over here. It's waters a 3x3 area. Like I said, just right click and it will water a whole 3x3 area. Which is useful. You could, just walk along your crops and just water them as you go. Okay, now for the second line. Let's take a look at the Magnuspedia. Over here. Now I will look at Cranite evolution. Now, the second line is Cralitus, and level 15 is required, as well as greater than 15 strength, 2 affection, and a Saberweeble. Saberweeble. One of the two. So I happen to have a Saberweeble, and I have its stats at 16 strength. So I will hold the Saberweeble. Hold. And I will throw it at it. And it should evolve. There we go. There we go. It evolved into a Cralitus. And yeah, Cralitus is pretty much just as knobby as Cranickel. So yes, they're knobby. So let's check out its information. Look at it in the Magnuspedia. There we go, Cralitus. Now, Cralitus is a class of Berserker, and its behavior is aggressive. So yes, you need to be careful because, yeah, if you meet one in the wild, it will attack you, probably furiously. At least that's the thought. Or with a vengeance. A variant of the Cranite crabs where food are scarce. Highly aggressive and is said to hunt other Cranite crabs for sustenance. For sustenance. Yeah, that sounds a little twisted. As for their favorite food is saber-weevil, but they also like meat and fish. As for the drops, they drop juicy raw meat, premium raw meat, Cranite stubs, Cranite shell, and Cranite claw. As for their skills, they have burrow stance, just like Cranickel. Burrows into the ground, changing its attack. Unravels the ground, spawning stone spikes. And that takes 0 stamina and has a 0-second cooldown. As for its farm ability, it can till a 2-row by 3-column area, which is useful. As for the passive party buff, they have physical attack plus 10% and physical defense plus 10%. So let's get off of it here and check out its attacks here. So, its left click attack is a flurry of crab pokes that, yeah, are pretty good. It's actually quite a quick attack. Let's see here. Yeah, it's kind of like if you were to look at a boxer, you know. They used one punch and then a whole flurry of punches and something like that. Anyway, so yeah, that's its left click attack. It is just its melee damage, of course. Now, it doesn't have a Q or an E, but its right click here turns it into the burrow stance, and then you can come out of the burrow stance by right clicking again. So now in the burrow stance, its left click attack turns into a earthquake-like or earth spike-like thing. So earth spikes come up from the ground and attack from a little bit of a distance. Not a super big difference though. Not a super big distance difference. I still feel like the flurry of pokes is better, but this allows you to keep your range while attacking. At least it attacks fairly quickly, so you can kind of kite your opponent and dance around them. Possibly useful for something like the Dreadclaw or something, who knows. There we go. So yeah, it could be useful, just it is a little bit slower than the flurry of pokes. But other than that, it doesn't have any other skills. So, yeah. Next, to head on to the next evolved form of this. Now for Cralitus's farm skill, or farm ability I should say, it's a 2x3, just right click to till, 2x3 till, which is pretty nice. Will get you tilling your field, probably a lot faster than some other ways. Now to look at the evolved form of Cralitus, we'll see what it takes here. Just head into the Magnuspedia. Right here, and over here. Now the evolved form. So, to evolve Cralitus to Crachium, it takes level 45 and greater than 50 strength, full affection, and a slice fin. So we'll head off here. I have mine at 51 strength. So I will just hold my slice fin. And I will throw it at it. There we go. And it's evolving into Crachium, which looks rather cool. It's really spiky and yeah, has a pretty cool look to it, honestly, it does. How you ride it, I really have no idea without poking your butt. That's a little disturbing. But, let's take a look at its information here. Over here, there we go, Crachium. Now, Crachium is also a class of Berserker, and it has a behavior of aggressive. So yes, be careful for them if you find them in the wild. Highly adapted to living in harsher environment. The powerful pincers it possesses are said to be capable of crushing steel with ease. So yes, they seem to be very powerful. As for their favorite food, they like slice fins. But otherwise they like meat and fish as well. As for the drops, they drop juicy raw meat, premium raw meat, Cranite stubs, Cranite shell, and Cranite claw. As for their skills, they have burrow stance, like all the other forms of Cranite. Burrows into the ground, changing its attack, spinning attack that slices through enemies. And that takes 0 stam and has a 0-second cooldown. But it also has Circle Spike, fires spike projectiles around itself that knocks down enemies. And that takes 20 stamina and has a 15-second cooldown. As for its farming ability, it can till a 3x3 row, 3 row by 3 column area, which is nice. As for its passive party buff, it gives physical attack plus 15% and physical defense plus 15%. So everything you need to be a berserker, in a sense. So head off here and get on it. Check it out. So you ride in between those spikes. It's a dangerous place to ride. So head in here. Now its left click attack is a crab attack, crab pincer attacks with a dash, which is kind of cool. It's like you could say it's like a lancer in a sense. It jousts forward when it's attacking as well. And that is a just regular melee attack. But it does not have a Q attack in its non-burrowed state, unfortunately. Can't use Q, can't use E. The Q attack is only for burrowed state. So let's go into burrowed stance mode, which is just right click. And of course, as with the others, you can just right click to come out of burrowed stance mode. So I'll right click and let's... Yes, this attack, this is the left click attack. It just spins. But it will hit multiple times, which is nice. For as long as the opposing Magnus is next to you, it will keep hitting them until, of course, it stops. So pretty handy, honestly. But you have to be careful because you can get attacked while doing the attack as well. So yeah, you got to manage it carefully. And that does melee damage as well, which is still, it's pretty cool. It's sapping that the HP away quite quickly. If you get high attack power on this, it seems like it would probably be pretty good. As for the Q attack, pretty nice attack. It has like spikes that it sends out in every direction. I'll just use it again here after the 15-second cooldown. And it pretty much hits everything around it. So yeah, not too bad. Although I think the spin to win is better. Yes, these Crachiums, they spin to win. It really is, honestly, a spin to win. Yeah, that covers most of their attacks, and I'll go back to the farm to check out its farm ability. Okay, its farm ability is to do till a 3x3 area, as long as you right click and not left click. There we go. So it does a nice area, nice amount. It won't till areas that have like stuff like that on it, but yeah, otherwise it's pretty nice. So it's helpful for tilling your whole field. But otherwise, yeah, that's mostly it for Cranite. Let's just take a look at the stat advice here I'd give for it. Now, for let's see. If you go the Cranickel to Cragnavis path, I would recommend to go pretty much a lot of endurance with a lot of strength, because yeah, you're looking for a tank, but you also want to be able to do damage with it. Now, if you're, if you want to, you could go mostly endurance to gain a really high defensive power, and then it still gets some strength to do some damage, but then make sure you take another attacker with you to offset. Like for instance, you could take a Cragnavis and a Crachium with you at the same time to do the defensive and the offensive attacks, which could be a pretty good combo. Because with Crachium, I would say to get a lot of strength. I mean, like mainly focus in strength, and you could focus in focus too, because focus would allow it to get crits as well, which wouldn't be too bad. And then get, of course, get some endurance to, raise its health and help its defense as well. But I think that pretty much covers all of the Cranite line, I guess. All of the Cranite species. It's a pretty cool Magnus, especially Crachium. Crachium looks pretty cool. I have to say that, except the 4 beady little eyes it has there, which look kind of disturbing a little bit, like they're peering into your soul, or something like that. But otherwise, yeah, I guess that's it for this Magnus showcase. If you like this showcase, hit that like button. We really appreciate it. It really helps us out a lot. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit that bell icon, leave a comment, and of course share it. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm just gonna, you can spin to win here on your farm too. Too bad it doesn't till everything in an area when you spin. Actually, that would be fun to till everything in just a single area when it's spinning. That'd be funny.